In the Egyptian capital, Cairo, Australian mother and daughter Amal Finn and young Zareen are on the move. There's no rest as they constantly move between safe houses. Remaining anonymous is taking its toll.
It's a constant emotional drain.
Amal is drained because for more than 900 days, she and her 6-year-old daughter have been trapped in Egypt. They only came here as tourists and are desperate to come home. They're scared. And so too are Amal's parents, Razmi and Graham, back in Melbourne.
This is wrong. These two Australians must be brought back to Australia.
And Zareen, for all the time she's been away, she says, when are we going back to Melbourne?
One man is responsible for this family's anguish. His name is Mazen Bayoumi, an Egyptian citizen and father of young Zareen. From Melbourne, he's using every legal trick in the book to stop her and Amal leaving Egypt. Mazen Bayoumi, it's time to stop the lies. Why have you trapped your daughter and ex-wife in Egypt? You're a proven liar. You're living a comfortable life here in Melbourne whilst keeping your daughter and ex-wife virtual hostage in a country that you refuse to live in.
Something's not right with this picture. I'm the Australian citizen. I'm here in Egypt. I want to go home. He's there. He's the Egyptian. He's living in Australia, where I want to be, and won't let us come home.
Make no mistake, it is an absolute injustice that Amal and young Zareen are trapped here in Egypt. Lies, deceit and manipulation have forced them to live a life in hiding and fear among the chaotic suburbs of Cairo when they should be back at home in the suburbs of Melbourne, living a happy family life.
I'm homesick, and every day I'm scared about my daughter, what's going to happen to her.
Just explain to me, how are you living day to day here?
Day to day, every day is waking up and struggling with the realisation that we're still here.
This is no life for a 6-year-old or her mum.
Do you have peach or do you have pink?
Locked indoors day and night, too scared to venture too far outside, except to buy the basics and, like tonight, settle into another hidden flat in Cairo. What impact does this have on Zareen? Here's a little girl who should be running around and playing and going to school.
Oh, she wants to go to school. She wants friends. She just wants the normal things that kids do. I hate having to constantly tell her, you know, you've got to be quiet.
I heard it. The wife takes it off.
We don't want the neighbours' attention. We don't want anybody's attention on us. That's not really a normal way for a little girl to grow up.
This nightmare existence began in mid-2013. At the time, Amal was living what she thought was a happily married life in Melbourne with husband Mazen Bayoumi and her 2 elder children from a previous marriage, Zara and Suleiman. Then one day, Bayoumi says he's missing Egypt and wants to take Zareen home to meet his family. So Amal heads off with her husband and their young daughter on a 2-week holiday.
I came here, you know, in good faith. I wanted to meet his family and wanted to do the right thing by my daughter and let her know both sides of her family.
But he had far more sinister plans. He had no intention of ever letting his daughter leave Egypt.
No.
He'd conned you.
He'd conned us, yeah.
When the time came to go home, Bayoumi bluntly told Amal their daughter wouldn't be returning to Australia. She'd be staying in Egypt with his family. How does he justify that?
He wants her to learn the language and stay for a short while. I was terrified, but I didn't have any choice, and I had to hold on to the hope that he would be good to his word.
You left Egypt without your daughter?
Yeah. It was one of the worst days of my life. She didn't know what was going on.
Did you tell her? Well, how did you explain to her that you'd be leaving her behind?
He wouldn't let me tell her.
He forced you to abandon your daughter here. You had no control over this at all.
I had no control over it. I mean, I'm not Egyptian, and I don't speak the language. I had no way to argue about it.
To calm and coerce Amal, Bayoumi offers to help her get a new Egyptian visitor's visa so she can come back in 2 months to collect Zareen.
He told me that I needed to sign something, visa papers basically, so that I could come back in and pick up Zareen and there wouldn't be any problems.
He tricked Amal into signing a document. He said, "Trust me, I'm your husband," because it was all in Arabic. Amal said, "What's this?" He said, "Just trust me, this is for your permanent residence so that you can come and go freely into Egypt."
But that was a lie.
Yeah, that was an absolute lie.
A lie to support a very cruel plan. Amal would learn later she was tricked. Those documents in Arabic were in fact travel bans, restricting her and Zareen from ever leaving Egypt together without Bayoumi's consent.
I can't understand how a person could do that to a little girl, let alone your own child.
Back in Australia, Amal is distraught without her daughter and powerless in her marriage. For 6 long months, Bayoumi keeps coming up with excuses, stalling and blocking Amal every time she tries to book a flight back to Cairo. So in secret, she and her dad Graham work on a travel plan to get Zareen back. But it would be fraught with danger.
My dad and I, we flew here. We went to where she was being kept by her grandmother and went to speak to the family. We just went there to talk with them, and they're the ones who got really agitated and aggressive.
That attack by the family is traumatic, as it reads in the police statement. One uncle hit you, a second uncle hit your father, broke your father's glasses, took $1,000 off him, took your jewellery, they beat you. The grandmother then took Zareen, your daughter, by force while she was still striking you, and you're dragged out onto the street. The grandmother hit Zareen, it reads?
Yeah.
Then they threatened you. They said, quote, they would not let you leave Egypt alive.
Yeah.
What did they say?
"We'll kill you. We'll find you and we'll kill you."
They're not just threats. A few weeks later, hired thugs try to kidnap Zareen. Men who, according to Cairo police, have a dangerous criminal history. But kidnapping and death threats are just the start of Amal's nightmare. Using those documents he tricked her into signing, Bayoumi has laid a trap. It's now Amal learns her and Zareen's Australian passports are useless. An Egyptian court has imposed travel bans on them after Bayoumi played victim and claimed in a written application he'd never get to see his daughter again if she was allowed to leave Egypt. Where is Mazen at this stage? Is he in Egypt?
No.
Where is he?
He's in Melbourne.
Yet legally here, the court believes he's in Egypt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he lied to the courts here.
He lied to the courts.
And they
And he
believed
lied to me. Yeah.
But he was successful. This is the travel ban.
Yeah, the result is we can't go home.
But the extent of Mazen Bayoumi's cunning and manipulation is only just starting to unfold. And it's staggering. You're exposed, Mazen. You're caught. It's finally time for the truth. Time to stop telling the lies. You walk like a man who feels invincible and untouchable. But I guess that's what's been allowed to happen to this point. How do you describe him?
Totally without emotion.
I will say despicable.
He's very cold and manipulating, but if you meet him, he can be very charming.
He's also cool, calm and collected, as we discovered when we tracked down Mazen Bayoumi in Melbourne. You lied to the Egyptian courts and told them that you were in Egypt. You're not. You're here in Melbourne, living a very comfortable life. Do you have any concern for Zareen?
Of course.
Of course. Well, why do you keep her trapped in Egypt? Why not let her and her mother come home?
This is what we want. This is what we're working for.
You're not working for it. You're blocking it at every move. How are you working to bring your daughter home?
I respect the court, and I do everything precisely as the court is saying.
With respect, you don't respect the courts. You've lied to the Egyptian courts. You have them believe that you're in Egypt. You're not. You're here.
You know what you're saying is not true at all.
Well, tell me the truth. It'd be nice to hear it from you.
We are here, media.
Well, this is the truth about Bayoumi. Surveillance vision of him, shot over the past 3 months, revealing extremely suspicious behaviour. On the 23rd of November last year, around 7:30 at night, Bayoumi and an accomplice were acting strangely in Melbourne's southern suburbs. In 2 separate cars, they keep stopping, talking and driving off at various locations. Then, after about half an hour, they drive their cars into each other, head-on, the camera capturing the seconds after. They've just staged an accident. Bayoumi's accomplice quickly takes photos of the crash scene. Then, police and an ambulance are called. But Bayoumi's acting doesn't end there. 4 weeks ago, January 18th, he returns to the scene. Having lodged a claim, he meets with an insurance assessor. Bayoumi appears injured. He's wearing a leg brace and walking with a crutch. But only 8 minutes later, when he arrives home, he's made a remarkable recovery. Bayoumi walks freely, without the brace or crutch. I'll stay with you.
Come, guys.
Hang on, you're meant to have an injured left leg. Oh, now you're hobbling, you're holding it. We've caught you committing insurance fraud. You staged that car accident. This is you. Look at that, wearing a brace and a crutch. I don't see them now. This is ridiculous, Mazen. It appears you staged a car accident.
What stage means?
Set it up, faked it. You faked it.
Okay.
Is that a word you're familiar with, faking? Exposing Bayoumi in Melbourne is cold comfort for Amal back in Egypt, trapped with her daughter, living in fear, with intense regret. At the very least, if you don't mind me putting it to you, you were incredibly naive.
Yeah. Yeah, incredibly so, I know.
And I'm sorry to say that.
No, it's true.
Did he want the marriage?
I think it was convenient for him at that time.
When you met him, what visa was he on?
Student visa. Temporary student visa.
So he knew that by marrying you, he would get a spousal visa.
Yeah, that's obviously what he had in mind.
That is heartbreaking for you because your marriage was a con, was a sham.
It wasn't real. Yeah, I had to come to terms with the fact that none of it was real.
What's he playing at?
I don't think that he wants Amal in Australia because she could make a lot of trouble for him.
Ruin his grand plan to become a citizen?
He wants Australian citizenship, and that was his plan. I don't think that Amal really had a part to play in his long-term plan.
And if all of this isn't terrible enough, there's another twist to this story. You come to learn something else about your ex-husband when you're here.
Yeah. He has a wife here in Egypt. Yeah.
And children?
Wife. Yeah, he's got a wife and twin boys.
Was he married to both of you at once?
He was. He was indeed.
So he's a bigamist as well?
Yeah.
I bet you put lipstick on and I pretend eyelashes.
Somehow, Amal blocks out the hurt and focuses on Zareen.
And I remember going swimming in the swimming pool.
And her 2 elder children back in Melbourne, who've been denied their mother and little sister for almost 3 years.
You end up doing your learner's test.
Yeah, I did.
A weekly Skype call home is Amal's emotional lifeline.
You
Thank you,
passed?
Bob.
You passed?
Yeah, I passed.
Oh,
Passed.
congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though she's in Egypt, she's like...
Suleiman and Zara have had to navigate high school and teenage life, not knowing when they'll next see their mum. How much do you miss your mum?
Yeah, sometimes it hits really hard because there's a lot of things that I wanted to do with her, you know.
Do you find that because your mum is going through so much that even when you do talk to her, there's things that you hold back?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm worried about something, I usually don't say it. I just tend to keep it in, you know, and try to deal with it myself.
You both live in hope
Yeah,
that
we-
Amal will come home.
Yes.
I think you have to get up in the morning hoping that someone somewhere will do something. I don't know who, how, but that's all you can do. Otherwise, you collapse. Yeah. And I do not want to collapse, and I do not want Amal to collapse, because if that happens, we will lose everything.
But that is a very real possibility. There is only so much injustice one person can bear while fighting a man who's manipulated authorities here in Australia and Egypt, as well as trying to raise and protect a bright, scared 6-year-old daughter in virtual captivity. If you wanted to do the right thing, you'd bring your daughter and ex-wife home. That's the best thing you could do, if you had any decency at all. Amal and her daughter are certainly not the first Australians to be trapped in Egypt. But after almost 3 years, it seems they've been dismissed or forgotten, with very little real help from anyone, least of all our government. They are Australian citizens who are frightened and abandoned, and they deserve better. You're tired, aren't you?
Yeah. Tired is pretty much sums it up.
I can see that. I'm not being hurtful, I hope, but I can see someone who is just drained.
Tired.
Yeah.
Really tired. I just want to go home.
Hello, I'm Sarah Abo. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.